What's going on, everyone? So Scream has been a franchise that has always had the female lead, that has had Sidney Prescott, and then eventually went with Sam and Tara to an extent, but Sam was kind of the more focal point. Now you have Sidney once again in the upcoming Scream 7, as well as you have her daughter, Isabel May, who's going to play her daughter. Supposedly the name is Tatum. But you look historically through horror franchise. You look historically through horror films. And you see more often than not a female lead who is kind of the forefront that the story kind of evolves around from, and is the one that's usually put in these compromised positions and has to survive death, whether it's through paranormal means or horror means or monsters or killers or whatever, right? But I've seen a lot, particularly in the Scream space, because I make a lot of Scream videos, of people wanting more of a male lead going forward in Scream. They kind of want to see, like, what would that look like with, kind of breaking the mold here in the horror space, which is something Scream has always done. And this isn't something where it's just like a bunch of men that are like, oh, we want to see more men. No, this hasn't been comments just solely from men. And you can look through my comment sections, right? It's been a very mixed group of people that have said, like, hey, no, like, I would love to kind of break the mold here. Again, Scream has always done that from the very beginning. That's what made it so successful. Them kind of breaking the mold on the typical horror tropes, right? Even silly things like, having two killers, right? Like, there's so much about that. The meta aspect, the meta elements. People have really kind of talked about how, hey, we need to have a male lead. Now, Scream has always had kind of male, figures that have been significant, right? With Dewey Riley and then, Randy, and you've had Chad in recent installments, right? So Scream has always maintained. I mean, you've had Sidney, Gale, and Dewey for 5 films, right? And he ends up dying, and then you kind of have Chad as his replacement. And so you've always kind of had Scream maintain this group of characters. And a lot of people were upset that Dewey died. People wanted Gale over Dewey. And again, mixed. Like, it wasn't just primary males that were like, oh, no, it was both women and males that were all just like, hey, Dewey should have survived because of the character, right? People really liked his character. He was kind of the lovable guy. And, the thing is now is that historically speaking, there have been essentially 2 primary reasons, right? There have been arguments and debates from, critics and stuff like that as to what the root cause, like, why aren't there more male leads? And, kind of looking into this topic, I was trying to, like, kind of really find the root. Like, where does it come from? Because one, it's the psychological element, which was one that I was familiar with, which is that women in compromised positions, right, being targeted by a killer or, having to deal with some, just scary situations, audiences, both male and female, have a different reaction than when it's a male, right? Like, men are more rugged, they're more tough, they're looked at as, like, hey, they're the guy, smash your way out of here type thing, right? And so, you see just even in, like, everyday life, something that happens to a female, it is more impactful, more discussed, more talked about than a male, right? When it happens to a male, it's kind of like, that sucks, right? But a female, it's like, oh, I can't believe somebody would do this, right? Like, and look, I don't want to get into, social debates and all that stuff, but that's essentially why you see females as the lead more than males historically throughout horror. Another big point, which seems to be the consensus, again, this is based on just the information that I was looking into when getting ready to discuss this video, because I've just seen so much conversation about this. Another big thing was to put women in a position of power, right? To put women no longer as just the damsel in distress where the male comes and saves the day, right? That you have a female lead who can, overcome the obstacles that are in front of them. Again, whether it's a monster or a paranormal or whatever, that they can overcome those obstacles. And, it's more empowerment, right? And you kind of look at history as you as you transition into kind of more, women's rights and, women just kind of being more in the forefront throughout history, you can kind of see the trend of women kind of becoming more empowered through films. And I think part of it, and this is just kind of my thoughts on it, I think part of it has been like Disney, right? Where, with the Mary Sues and stuff like that, and people kind of get burnt out and stuff. And you saw this like trend for a little while that has kind of fallen to the wayside here a little bit of like, men bad, women good, right? Like, and women are just as strong and this, that, and the other, right? And to an extent, like, it's fine to want to have these female leads. It's fine to want to have these female empowerments, but to instead of having this like balance where it's like, okay, not all men are evil, not all men are D-bags, right? Like, not all women are, D-bag, right? Like, there's balance, right? It's just, it's always just one way or the other, right? And you've seen it even from male-driven, like, women are just helpless, right? Men need to do everything for that. Like, there's always the extreme one way or another rather than like having a balance, right? Like, men and women can help each other. Men and women can work together to, whether it's through a household or a marriage or children or life or work relationships or whatever, right? Like, two sides can come together to help. It doesn't have to be one extreme or the other. It doesn't have to be like men are just terrible, all men, ew, yucky, women, yay, right? Like, no, we can have like there's nothing wrong with having a male bad guy. Like, no one's like, oh, hey, there's a male bad guy. Like, oh, that's it, sexist, right? Like, it's not the thing. Most villains are men, right? Right? So it's not something where we look at it and go, like, oh, men are just bad. But again, it's when you have the extremities is where things kind of, you start creating these divides and these sort of factions, and then the internet goes wild and crazy with it. Rather than just kind of, again, having a balance. You want to have a powerful female lead, that's fine. Go for it, right? We love to see it. Sidney Prescott, again, we're talking about Scream. Sidney has always been a powerful female lead that has done a really good job. But she also had vulnerabilities. She also had things that she had to overcome. She didn't just walk in as this girl boss and just kick everyone's behind, right? Like, there was progression to her character, even film to film, right? Like, she just got manipulated by Billy and then got even more manipulated by Mickey, so much so that she ended up getting her boyfriend killed. So then you saw the transition to her dealing with the aftermath of that in Scream 3, right? You've seen the progression of her character, and people love it. Right? Laurie Strode, you think of all these like iconic female horror leads. You've seen the progressions. They all didn't just like, Laurie didn't just show up and see Michael and just kill him on the first try. Like, she didn't just show up and just go, oh, hey, yeah, here, give me that knife. Boom, you're dead. Right? Like, it was battles, right? And some she won, some she lost, right? But there was this progression, and that's what it is, right? So it's finding that balance. I am all for a male lead, right? But I also, in the same breath, I understand the opposite side of it. To me, why not have kind of, again, that balance, right? Why not have a male lead and then also maintain the female lead, right? You could have, instead of two sisters, do a brother and a sister, right? And they're both kind of the focal point. They're both the male, the primary goal, focus, whatever, right? Like, Scream 7, Mark Kincaid, Sidney Prescott, right? Like, you could have the two of them kind of as the power duo together. Yeah, maybe the story leans more focused on Sidney Prescott because, she's the franchise, but, you could also have kind of just a better balance, right? Like, I mean, even Ghostface. I mean, you look at Scream, Ghostface is always, dating back to Scream 2, has always had a nice balance of, male and female killers, right? Like, it's never just been one or the other. Right? But, it's finding that balance. Again, I don't care either way, personally, right? You want to go male lead, you want to go female lead, I don't care. I care about the acting, the story, the execution, the delivery, right? Like, those are the things that I care about. like your characters or whoever your characters are. Whatever your characters are the ones that you deem necessary for the story. But how are they portrayed? How are they acted out? How is the story centered around? You want to do a male lead, you want to kind of have a male in the foreground. Fine, go ahead, do that, knock it out, right? But if you're gonna do a female lead, same thing, right? Like me personally, I don't care if it's a guy, I don't care if it's a girl. I just want a story, and one that makes sense, and one that can kind of be properly flushed out, right? I understand a lot of people want kind of male lead because it's like every horror film is, for the most part, like obviously there have been like, with Sinister and stuff like that, but most of these like slasher films and stuff are a female lead. But again, it's one, the focus of, damsel in distress, so to speak, right? Woman in trouble is more impactful to an audience than a male in trouble. Just the reality. I mean, even to this day, in 2024, as much as people like to, say what they like to, it's just, at the end of the day, it's the reality. If something bad happens to a guy, it's not as talked about, it's not as impactful. People don't have the same reaction as if it happens to a girl, which translates to film. It's why, you have Sidney Prescott and many others as the female leads, right? That's a big part. Is that something that the general audience would be able to overcome? I believe that they would, if, again, the story, the character development, the execution is done proper, right? I absolutely believe that you can do it with a male lead if you wanted to go that route. But it's about balance, right? Having this balance. You can't have these extremes one way or the other, right? You want to have women empowerment. You want to have women, in the thick of it. Beautiful. I love it. Let's go, right? But it can't be the extremities. It's always, you always see that with studios and stuff, right? Like they always want to paint, they can't have the balance. It always has to be like this person or group or whatever has to be the bad guy. The man is evil, girl good, right? Like it can't just be like, okay, well, no, this is just the bad guy. This is the guy that is bad, but not all of the guys are bad. There's these guys over here that are very nice and helpful, right? And they're working together to try to help, right? Like, again, look at Scream. You had Gail, Dewey, and Sidney. Dewey wasn't bad. Dewey helped. He was in the thick of it. He was, Big Brother Dewey who tried to save their lives and stuff, right? Like, it was a team effort. It was collective. It wasn't just Dewey bad, Sidney good, right? Like, Gail good, right? Like, it was, again, collective. Randy was good. He tried to help, right? Like, gotta have better balance. But whether you want to have a male lead, female lead, whatever, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I just want a good movie, right? Like, we've seen good movies where a guy is the lead. We've seen bad movies where guys are the lead. We've seen good movies where females are the lead. We've seen bad movies where females are the lead, right? Like, it happens. I just want a good movie. But anyway, just kind of wanted to talk about this because, like I said, I've gotten a lot of comments about this and just have seen this kind of be like a growing conversation. So I figured, let's talk about it, right? And then kind of give you the information as to why it seems like it's that way. Then let you guys come to your own conclusions. As always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you want a male lead? Do you want a female lead? Are you like me where you're like, I don't really care. Just, have a good movie. How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.